Welcome to Small Biz Flash, where owners and managers get their briefing on small business news, trends, and insights to make better decisions and increase their business's value. I'm your host, Adam Hewitt. Thanks for joining me. Cybersecurity is critical to your business. One catastrophic cyber attack could shut you down. Today on the show, we have a special guest, Kevin Beaver, the guy who literally wrote the book on hacking. After the news roundup, he'll explain key steps you should take to fight cyber threats. All right, let's dive in. First in the news this week is inflation, which continues to beleaguer the U.S. economy and, by extension, small businesses. In September, the Producer Price Index, a measure of wholesale inflation, rose 0.4%, which was worse than analysts expected. For the 12-month period, prices were up 8.5%. Inflation at the retail level was a similar story. For September, the Consumer Price Index was up 8.2% year over year. Consumer spending was flat in September, according to the Commerce Department, even as prices increased. Because the figures do not take into account inflation, however, the report indicates that consumer spending is actually in decline. Recent data from J.P. Morgan Chase indicates that consumer spending is currently outpacing their income, and their savings are dwindling as a result. In another potential sign of tough times ahead, the Conference Board released a survey last week of CEOs showing a nearly unanimous view among the group that a recession is looming. 98% said they are getting ready for a downturn in the next 12 to 18 months. Small business owners continue to be pessimistic overall, according to the September Small Business Optimism Index, which came in at 92.1, marking the 9th consecutive month the figure has landed below the 48-year average of 98. Digging a bit deeper into the data, published by the National Federation of Independent Business, owners' underlying glumness takes shape. Not a single one of the 557 respondents plan to increase inventories in the next 3 to 6 months, and only 24% plan a capital expenditure over the same time period. Small Business Saturday is just around the corner, on November 26th, 2 days after Thanksgiving. The day is designed to support local businesses at the beginning of the Christmas shopping season, and is co-sponsored by American Express and the Small Business Administration. In 2021, U.S. consumers who shopped at independent retailers and restaurants on Small Business Saturday spent an estimated $23 billion. You can learn more about this year's Small Business Saturday and get free marketing materials for your business by going to the link in the show notes. Small business owners, your finances are the cornerstone of your business. You need the bookkeeping pros at SBS Accounting and Advisors to keep your AP, AR, and financial statements on track. For 16 years, the good folks at SBS have been helping owners like you make better decisions and grow their profits. Go to sbsaccountants.com today to set up a free 30-minute consultation. Use the promo code FLASH to get 20% off your setup fee. Again, that's sbsaccountants.com. We're excited today to have a really great guest. Kevin Beaver is an independent security consultant with Atlanta-based Principal Logic, and he has worked with small and medium-sized businesses in his practice for many years. And he also, one of his biggest claims to fame is he is the author of Hacking for Dummies. And so you can go out to Amazon or any other number of venues and get his book and learn how to hack if you wanted to do that. So, Kevin, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Adam. It's great to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you. So I wanted just to start us off by, there was a survey that the Small Business Administration did, and I actually alluded to this on a previous episode, but 88% of small business owners said that they felt their businesses were vulnerable to cyber attacks. And I think that's great, but the other 12% are being kind of naive because really every small business is vulnerable to cyber attack. So
right.
Could you tell us, as an expert, I mean, you wrote the book, literally, so could you tell us what is the single biggest threat right now out there for small business owners when it comes to these kinds of attacks and threats?
This is a tough one because there's so many important aspects of IT and security for small businesses. Looking at the bigger picture of why security breaches are actually happening and why they keep happening, I think the biggest impediment to good security and the overall biggest threat to small businesses is not understanding why security is important to the business. And, that really boils down to one thing. You've got too much to lose to not make this a priority. Given the hacking threat, the ransomware threat, even the threat of malicious employees, or even just employees making bad choices, there's too much to lose. So you've got to have that big enough why and that understanding of why in order to move on to the next step. And the good news is most of the security challenges that small businesses face are easy to resolve. In fact, someone else has already figured out a way to solve virtually every security challenge that you face as a business owner. So it's going to be up to you to make sure that the right things are happening. Most of the threats that your company faces are easy to block. Most of the risks that you take on, really, regardless of what your business does, can be minimized and even eliminated. But you do have to do the right things. And those things it's really just three things for small businesses that I've seen over the years, Adam. Number one is having the right person in charge of reviewing or at least overseeing IT and security, whether it be an employee or someone you bring in from the outside. You've got to have that person in charge. Number two, understanding your network along with the information that you manage and how it's all currently at risk. And then number three, this one seems pretty obvious, but a lot of people tend to overlook it. It's actually taking actionable steps to resolve the issues that have been identified. And even if it's just baby steps, it's just about doing the simple things well over time. And it's just things like making sure everybody's software is updated, training employees on what to do and what not to do and what to look out for, requiring strong passwords on all of your systems, encrypting your laptops. All of these things can go a really long way towards not just better IT and information security, but overall business resilience. The reality is that you can't secure the things that you don't acknowledge. So you have to understand why this is important to your business and how it's impacting your business. And you do that by first determining where your weaknesses are on your computers and your software, your business, IT processes, and even among your people. And then you implement these three things just sort of over and over again. I call it relentless incrementalism. You just do the little things over and over, and you get better over time. That's how you address the threat that you face.
Well, and I think that's a great approach, Kevin, and it's an easy, to some degree, an easy approach that small businesses can take over time, right? And to your point, right. I think what my experience has been in the past is that you have to have the will to look at these challenges and to take them head on, as opposed to sort of going and burying your head in the sand.
Exactly.
So for example, multi-factor authentication, it's kind of a pain. But if you don't do it, then, that's a simple thing you can do. But if you don't do it, you're really kind of leaving yourself vulnerable, right?
Absolutely. And you have to take a defensible approach. If you're going to be managing sensitive information, or if you're going to have relationships with other businesses, and the expectation is there for you to maintain that level of security, then you're going to have to do those essentials, including multi-factor authentication, as well as the other items that I mentioned, and you're just going to have to implement it and do it well over time, and that's what makes you better and more resilient.
Well, thank you so much for all this great information, Kevin. I think you had a couple of resources that you wanted to mention to the audience.
Absolutely. I think the Wall Street Journal does a great job with security stories and trends. So if you have a subscription, you can subscribe to they have an email newsletter. It's called the WSJ Pro Cybersecurity newsletter, I believe. Yes. Which always seems to have the latest and greatest stuff in it. Another website is by a journalist named Brian Krebs. He has a website called Krebs on Security. A lot of good information there. And then finally, another great resource for small businesses and any organization, really, it's called searchsecurity.com. It's really one of the best and longest running and most well-known websites on security. So you don't have to be an expert in IT or security. You don't have to go learn all these things. You just have to do the right things to have a secure network environment. And again, to reiterate my earlier point, you just need to understand why it matters.
And that's all great information, and I've used some of those resources in the past, but we'll put links to all of those in the show notes, as well as links to Kevin's company and to his book, so all of y'all out there can find that. So, Kevin, thanks again just for taking the time out of your busy schedule to enlighten us and give us some really great actionable information. We really do appreciate it.
You bet, Adam. Thanks so much for having me on.
Thanks for listening to Small Biz Flash. I'm your host, Adam Hewitt. If you enjoy the show, please help me expand its reach by telling one other person about the podcast. I sure do appreciate it, and I'll see you next week.